competent. One training day pushed Bruce Lee beyond every limit. When his body screamed, his warrior spirit answered.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that is just absolutely legendary. We're talking about Bruce Lee. Now, you probably already know the man, the myth, the movies. But today, we're zooming in on what we call Day 23. This is the untold cinematic story of his toughest training day ever. We're going to break down the timeline, that insane physical exhaustion, and the deep mental philosophy behind his unparalleled legacy. The lessons here? Yeah, they go way beyond martial arts. They're about the literal limits of human potential. So let's get into it.
Every champion has one day that changes everything. A day when pain says, stop, but the heart says, one more step. Wow, just let that sink in for a second. This quote perfectly sets the stage for the exact moment Bruce Lee's discipline went from great to legendary. I mean, we always see the finished product, right? The flawless movie scenes, those lightning-fast strikes, but we almost never see the agonizing, brutal breaking point that makes those on-screen moments possible. This isn't about those days when training just feels good. It's about that one defining day when every single muscle in your body is literally screaming at you to quit, and you take one more step anyway.
Which brings us to Section 1, the dawn of discipline, greatness in the shadows.
Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds, because long before the rest of the world even hits the snooze button, the foundation of a legend is already being poured. Greatness? It's not a public event. It's built in absolute silence, with ruthless consistency, while everyone else is fast asleep. Check this out. At 4 a.m., he kicks off with a pre-dawn run through these isolated, misty mountain trails. By 5:30 a.m., the focus shifts to intense striking. At 6 a.m., he hits the wall, that infamous breaking point. And finally, right at sunrise, the breakthrough. This isn't just a workout schedule, it's a progression of escalating physical and mental warfare. Imagine the total isolation of those dark, freezing mountain trails. No cheering crowds, no cameras, just a man, the heavy mist, and pure sheer will.
Because, as we know, greatness isn't built in comfort. Picture the raw realism of this scene for a second. You've got heavy, rhythmic breathing cutting right through that cold mountain fog, the chill in the air just filling the lungs. Every single footstep on that trail is a deliberate, conscious choice to reject comfort. This right here establishes his baseline of ultimate discipline. To really understand Bruce Lee's legendary routine, you've got to realize it started way before he ever threw a single punch. It started with the simple, brutal act of waking up and facing the freezing elements when his body just desperately wanted to stay in bed.
Moving on to Section 2, pushing the physical limits, precision and balance.
So the run is over, the muscles are already burning, and it's time to crank up the intensity. We're talking wooden dummy mastery, heavy bag combinations, explosive kicks, rope skipping, just relentless, rapid-fire exertion. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just about throwing wild strikes to burn a few calories. What made his training so iconic was the absolute intent behind every single motion. Every punch on that heavy bag demanded pinpoint precision. Every explosive kick required perfect, unwavering balance. Sweat is literally flying through the air, his heart rate is totally maxed out, and yet, the technical execution? Flawless. That is what hitting your true physical limit actually looks like.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next point. When the body begged for rest, the mind demanded one more repetition. We're crossing the line now from physical exhaustion straight into mental endurance. At this point, the muscles are totally depleted. The glycogen is just gone. His body is basically sending emergency distress signals to his brain, begging it to stop the striking and the skipping. But the mind? The mind steps up as the commander. It completely overrides the body's desperate pleas and demands just one more repetition.
Which leads into Section 3, hitting the mental wall, the toughest opponent.
The physical limits have been totally shattered by now, and we've entered a purely psychological battle. On one side, you have the body. It's begging for rest, physically exhausted, literally kneeling on the dojo floor, totally spent. But on the other side, the mind. And the mind is demanding one more rep. It is absolutely refusing to quit. This right here highlights the ultimate internal struggle. The toughest opponent in Bruce Lee's life wasn't some other martial artist staring him down across the room. No way. The toughest opponent was his own internal voice whispering, "Hey, you've done enough for today, you can stop." Legends aren't born because they don't have that voice, they're born because they learn exactly how to silence it.
So let me ask you, when the voice inside says stop, what do? Take a real second to answer that for yourself. We all hit that wall, right? Whether it's in the gym, in the middle of a tough project at work, or just in our personal lives. Your response to that one single word, stop, that is what dictates your entire trajectory.
All right, let's get into Section 4, the ultimate breakthrough. Mindset over matter.
Picture this cinematic close-up, an exhausted man kneeling on the floor looking totally defeated. And then, slowly, he stands back up with just pure, raw determination. Not because the training became easier, but because his mindset became stronger. So, the crucial point here is that the physical pain, it didn't magically disappear. The heavy bag didn't get any lighter, and the air didn't get any warmer. The conditions were exactly as brutal as they were 5 minutes ago. But a fundamental, deep internal shift happened. That final agonizing effort changed everything, simply because the mind leveled up to meet the crazy demands of the environment.
Pushing past that mental wall literally changes everything. First, you push past the barrier. Second, you execute with renewed speed and precision. And third, you achieve the breakthrough. Following that moment of mental victory, there is this epic surge of energy. We are talking spinning kicks, lightning-fast punches, and a level of wooden dummy mastery that completely defies exhaustion. It's like breaking through that mental barrier actually unlocks a hidden reserve of physical power that just wasn't accessible beforehand.
And finally, Section 5, the Bruce Lee legacy, the sunrise reflection. Now, the grueling work is done, and we can kind of zoom out to that golden sunrise and reflect on his legacy. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is the contrast here. You've got talent on one side. That's natural ability, the stuff you're born with, and frankly, it's pretty easy to rely on. But on the other side, discipline. Discipline outlasts talent every single time. Discipline is what creates legends. Bruce Lee's toughest training day became his greatest teacher because it proved that when talent finally runs out of breath, discipline is the only thing keeping you standing. It's that absolute refusal to rely just on your natural gifts and committing to forging an unbreakable will instead.
Every legend has a day that almost broke them. It is so absolutely vital to remember this. The people who inspire entire generations, the ones we look at and think, oh, they must be superhuman. They aren't immune to pain. They aren't immune to exhaustion or self-doubt. They all face their own day 23. They all have that moment where they're on their knees, completely drained and almost broken. What defines them and what really defines Bruce Lee's legacy is that they just flat out refuse to stay down.
As we pull back and look at the vast landscape of this story, we're left with a pretty commanding blueprint. Train hard, stay disciplined, become legendary. These aren't just motivational words on a screen. They're a bridge. A bridge between Bruce Lee's unbelievable dedication on that cold, misty mountain and the actual challenges you and I are facing in our own lives today.
Which leaves us with one final thought to close out this explainer. How will you conquer your own day 23? When the fog rolls in, when your muscles are burning, and when that internal voice is just begging you to stop, what's your next move going to be? Keep that in mind the next time you face your own wall. Thanks so much for joining me as we explored this unbelievable testament to human discipline. Keep pushing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.